our solar system. A wonderful, yet strange and mysterious place. Still full of mystery. From the distant and mysterious ice giants, such as Neptune and Uranus. To the beautiful and magnificent Saturn, with its large planet-like moon, Titan. And to the mighty Jupiter, which is our protector and bodyguard, and all of its moons that orbit all around it, as part of what I like to call the web of Jupiter. And not to forget the asteroid belt, which are leftovers from the formation of the solar system. And also, our little red friend, Mars, which will soon become our next future home. To our home planet, Earth, and our moon, Luna. We are at home here in the solar system. As far as we know, we are the only forms of life that exist in the known universe. But Venus has questionable questions whether it has life on it or not, despite it being the hottest planet in the solar system. And also to the tiny and strange little planet that's the closest to the sun, Mercury. And our sun, our parent star. Our solar system is also a very special place because of its 8 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. But however, there is one little planet, which in this video is gonna be very special, even though it already is very special to us, because this is a little surprise that I have for our little friend. This is Pluto, the once called 9th planet of the solar system, now downgraded to a dwarf planet due to its small size. And because of that, people have been hating on this little guy and have been bad-mouthing it and not calling it a planet anymore. But however, that is about to change, because I have a little surprise for our little friend. Well, make that a big surprise. on this Valentine's Day special of Journey Through Space, we will be exploring Pluto and especially joining New Horizons when it finally arrived at Pluto, and also talking about the history of the discovery of this strange little world that's 4.6 billion miles away from the sun. So this is a Journey Through Space special featuring our distant little friend, Pluto. We will be exploring its history, from its formation, to its discovery, to its downgrading, and to the New Horizons mission. This is the Journey Through Space special, Pluto, the planet within our hearts. Now, I know that y'all are waiting for the main part of this video, but I have another plan for this video on our distant little friend, Pluto. Because this is also going to be a special shout out to Australian amateur astronomer V101 Science, which I will be using several of his videos on Pluto in this video to basically give y'all an idea of what Pluto is like. Now, without further ado, and again, shout out to V101 Science, and if you're watching this, huge shout out to you, and you're the reason of why I am making this special video on our distant little friend, Pluto. Now, without further ado, enjoy these several videos of V101 Science.
Deep in the outer reaches of the solar system, past all of the giant gas planets and their many moons, you will find a region known as the Kuiper Belt. And within this region lurks a strange little world known as Pluto. Pluto was once considered the 9th and most distant planet in our solar system. But back in 2006, this mysterious celestial object was reclassified as a dwarf planet because of its small size and weak gravitational field. It shares the Kuiper Belt region, an area beyond Neptune that is believed to contain trillions of objects with many other small worlds, or Plutoids as they are also known. Since Pluto is so far away from Earth, around 3 billion miles at its closest point, little was known about it until NASA's New Horizons probe arrived there in 2015. This incredible probe allowed for a much broader understanding of the world at the edge of the solar system, capturing incredible photos as it completed its flyby. So if one day in the future we have developed the technology that will allow human beings to travel and explore this distant dwarf planet, what would it be like to stand on Pluto? The first thing you might notice after landing on Pluto is the dwarf planet's weak gravity, which is only 0.07 times that of Earth's. Because Pluto is so far away from the Sun, it is one of the coldest places in the solar system, at roughly minus 235 degrees Celsius. The atmosphere on Pluto fluctuates depending on how close it is to the Sun. At its closest point, its surface ice begins to sublimate, changing directly from solid to a gas. But this gas, consisting mainly of nitrogen and methane, is only temporary, and if you were standing on Pluto during the right season, you may experience the dwarf planet's atmosphere freezing and falling as snow to the surface. Pluto is, however, no place for human beings. Its frigid temperature, lack of oxygen, and weak gravitational field mean that you and the rest of your crew would require advanced equipment and a special spacesuit to survive on this relentless dwarf planet. But looking across Pluto might make it all worthwhile, as you would see exotic ice mountains and sharp ridges towering in the distance, some higher than 10,000 feet. You would see smooth regions and glacial flows both into and out of ancient basins. Depending on where you were standing, you might notice large differences in surface brightness and colour, from charcoal black, glistening white, and even a deep crimson red. These colour variations are believed to be a result of solar ultraviolet rays falling on the nitrogen and methane gases present in Pluto's atmosphere, creating tholins that then rest on the surface ice. You wouldn't see many craters, as Pluto has a fairly new surface that is believed to be less than 10 million years old. If you looked up into the sky, you might see a subtle blue colour with stars flickering away in the distant space. The Sun would also be visible in the sky, but instead it would look like a very bright star because of how far away it is. If you and your exploring crew were on the right side of Pluto, you might see Charon in all its glory, Pluto's largest moon that is only 12,000 miles away. Other smaller moons may also be seen, like Styx, Nix, Kerberos and Hydra, as they continue on their orbit around the dwarf planets. If you had landed in the region known as Tombau Regio, or the Heart, then there could be a possibility that you might not be alone. Underneath certain areas of the Heart, some evidence suggests that Pluto may be hiding a subsurface slushy ice ocean. And if this is the case, and there is enough energy, then according to scientists there could be a possibility of life existing there. Even if there isn't a subsurface ocean filled with alien creatures, Pluto is still an extremely interesting, mysterious place that is highly popular amongst the people of Earth, making it the undisputed king of the Kuiper Belt. In January 2006, NASA's New Horizons probe began its long journey towards the distant world, Pluto. The incredible spacecraft became the first man-made object to encounter the icy dwarf planet, but also go beyond and explore the strange Kuiper Belt object unofficially known as Ultima Thule. In order to get to the outer zones of the solar system and complete its mission, New Horizons had to first travel through a region known as the asteroid belt, where it captured its first image. The asteroid belt is located between the orbits of Mars and Jupiter. Apart from the occasional minor planet, such as Ceres, it is mainly made up of hundreds of thousands of irregular shaped objects that are spread out across a vast area. This blurred spot might not look like much, but it is the small asteroid 132524 APL. The asteroid is estimated to measure approximately 1.6 miles in diameter, and New Horizons flew by the strange rocky object in June 2006 from a distance of 63,300 miles away. Unfortunately, not all of the probe's instruments were online during the flyby, including the spacecraft's highest magnification telescope. But it did offer a chance to test other instruments, such as the Ralph telescope, which is a visible and infrared imager and spectrometer. After passing through the asteroid belt, the probe's next destination was the mighty gas giant Jupiter, and in 2007 it arrived, capturing many incredible images of our solar system's largest planet as it slowly approached. During its encounter with the gas giant, New Horizons used Jupiter's powerful gravity to boost its speed and adjust its course towards Pluto, increasing the probe's velocity by 8,700 miles per hour and shortening its trip to the dwarf planet by 3 years. The maneuver is known as a gravity assist and allowed the spacecraft the chance to collect new valuable information about the gas giant, its moons, and its ring system. In February 2007, the now distant spacecraft made its closest approach to Jupiter and captured many magnificent photographs of the gas giant's swirling cloud tops. This image was created by combining several photographs that were taken in different colours, exposing the gas planet's turbulent, diverse atmosphere as it transitions from day to night. New Horizons was unable to take any close-up photos of Jupiter's largest moons because of its path during the gravity assist maneuver, but it was able to capture them from millions of miles away using the spacecraft's long-range reconnaissance imager, which is a black and white high-resolution camera. This image is of the volcanic world Io, and was captured when New Horizons was 1.5 million miles away from the moon. A huge plume of volcanic debris that is illuminated by the sun as it slowly drifts down onto Io's night side can be seen at the top of the image. Jupiter's largest moon, Ganymede, was captured from a distance of 2.2 million miles away, revealing dark patches of ancient terrain and a surface that is peppered with recent impact craters that have scattered fresh, bright ice across its landscape. The famous icy world Europa was photographed from 1.9 million miles away and shows the moon's fractured icy crust that is thought to conceal a slushy ocean 60 miles below its surface. And finally, Jupiter's outermost moon, Callisto, was captured from 2.6 million miles away, exposing one of the most heavily cratered worlds in our solar system. After the Jupiter encounter was complete, New Horizons' next destination was the icy dwarf planet Pluto, approximately 3 billion miles away from Earth. In order to save energy, the spacecraft was put into hibernation mode in June 2007 and was only revived around 2 months every year for system checks. Then, nearly 7.5 years later, in December 2014, New Horizons was woken up for the last time, as it had finally arrived at Pluto. During its approach, the spacecraft sent back incredible images that were slowly increasing in quality, gradually revealing new distinct features of the mysterious icy world. This refined, ultra-high resolution true colour image shows us what Pluto would look like if we could see it with our own eyes, and was taken in July 2015 at a distance of 22,025 miles away. You can see the dwarf planet's magnificent, bright, icy terrain that is made up of canyons and mountains, including its famous heart, the Sputnik Planitia. Close-ups of Pluto's diverse terrain were also taken, such as this colour-enhanced image that reveals a young surface that is made up of cratered valleys and a vast mountain range that leads into an icy plain. The mountains are huge blocks of water ice with a coating of frozen gas such as methane and can be as tall as 2 miles high, while the icy plain is thought to be made of frozen nitrogen and is part of Pluto's famous heart feature. New Horizons also encountered Pluto's mysterious moons, including its largest, Charon. The true colour image was once again created from refined data and shows us what the moon would look like if we could see it with our own eyes from a distance of 46,091 miles away. A dark reddish-brown mark is located at Charon's North Polar region, and huge cliffs are visible stretching across the moon's crust. These blurry but still impressive images of Pluto's smaller moons, Styx, Nix, Kerberos and Hydra were taken using New Horizons' long-range reconnaissance imager and reveal their highly elongated shapes that are thought to be typical of small bodies in the Kuiper Belt. After more than 9 years and 3 billion miles, New Horizons had finally completed its flyby of the Pluto system in January 2016. The incredible spacecraft collected colossal amounts of information during its approach, encounter and departure, sending back over 50 gigabytes of data. But its mission wasn't over yet, as its next destination was the mysterious Kuiper Belt object unofficially known as Ultima Thule. In January 2019, 3 years after its Pluto encounter, New Horizons had finally arrived at the strange object at the edge of the solar system, nearly 4 billion miles away from Earth. This image was taken just minutes before the probe's closest approach to Ultima Thule and exposes the complex geology of the strange object. The little world measures approximately 18 miles in diameter and is made up of 2 almost spherical lobes that were gravitationally attracted to one another. New Horizons is currently more than 4 billion miles away from Earth and is scheduled to continue studying the Kuiper Belt until at least 2021. But according to NASA, the spacecraft has enough power and fuel to operate until the late 2030s, which could result in many more extended missions, perhaps even a mission outside of the solar system, studying interstellar space with its predecessors, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. Far beyond Earth, Mars and the mighty gas giants, within a region known as the Kuiper Belt, hides the small, icy world, Pluto, and its 5 moons. Once considered the 9th and most distant planet in the solar system, Pluto was discovered by the American astronomer Clyde Tombaugh in February 1930. For more than 70 years, Pluto was categorized as one of the main planets, but in 2006, the distant, icy world was reclassified as a dwarf planet, a change that attracted controversy and still stirs debate even today. For decades after its discovery, very little was known about Pluto, and because of its enormous distance from the Sun, it was largely thought of as a lifeless rock lurking at the edge of the solar system. But in July 2015, after nearly 10 years of travelling through the darkness of space, an incredible spacecraft called New Horizons changed our view of Pluto forever. Before New Horizons arrived at Pluto, this was one of the best photos we had of the dwarf planet, a pixelated blob that was taken by the Hubble Space Telescope in 1996. New Horizons' historic flyby, on the other hand, was able to capture thousands of high-resolution close-up images, revealing a complex, evolving world unlike any other in the solar system. The spacecraft collected 6.25 gigabytes of data during its brief encounter with Pluto, a download that took over 15 months to officially complete. And it's because of this extraordinary data that scientists now have a much broader understanding of this mysterious world, giving us the chance to explore some of Pluto's fascinating surface features like never before. The study of Pluto revealed a colourful but complex world that is covered in tall, icy mountain chains, deep chasms, overlapping craters, and vast, almost featureless plains. A small jewel of astonishing beauty. One of the largest and most spectacular features on Pluto is the iconic heart. Named Tombaugh Regio, the bright area consists of two very different sides. The eastern lobe is a chaotic mountain range that is made of water ice frozen harder than granite, whereas the western lobe is a fairly flat nitrogen ice plain that is believed to be a gigantic ancient impact crater. This region of the heart is called Sputnik Planitia and was possibly created by a massive object 1,200 miles wide, which is 1,930 kilometers wide. It is thought that over hundreds of thousands of years the impact basin slowly filled with vast amounts of soft but frozen nitrogen ice via glacial flows. But the most surprising part of Sputnik Planitia is the strange textures and deep crevasses that separate the plain. These repeating patterns suggest that below the thick ice a process known as convection is occurring, which happens when fluid is warmed unevenly, meaning that something deep within Pluto is warmer than the surface and is causing this gigantic sea of frozen nitrogen to slowly churn, possibly concealing a slushy water ocean. Towards the south of Pluto's magnificent heart is another bizarre feature that has been named Right Mons and is an enormous cryovolcano. Unlike volcanoes we see on Earth, Right Mons once erupted melted volatiles such as water and ammonia onto Pluto's frigid surface, instead of hot magma. The giant ice volcano measures about 90 miles across, which is 145 kilometers across, and is 2.5 miles high, which is 4 kilometers high, making it the largest feature of its kind ever discovered in the outer solar system. One of the more perplexing things about Right Mons is that there is only one identified impact crater on its slopes, indicating that this mighty cryovolcano must have formed relatively recently. Along the western margins of Sputnik Planitia, just above the Right Mons cryovolcano, is Pluto's highest and steepest mountain range, an area that has been named Tenzing Montes. These ginormous, icy peaks tower 3.9 miles or 6.2 kilometers above the surface and have a mean slope of 19.2 degrees. Although most of Pluto is covered in methane and nitrogen ice, to create big mountains like these requires a much stronger material, and so Tenzing Montes are most likely made of frozen water, because at these frigid temperatures, water ice behaves more like rock. Like other large features on Pluto, these tall peaks are fairly young, likely shaping no more than 100 million years ago, and they may even still be in the process of forming. One of the more striking and obvious features on Pluto is the massive red patch that stretches around its equator. This bizarre but beautiful region has been named Cthulhu Macula and is made up of a varied landscape of flat plains, scarps, mountains, and craters. The enormous patch is roughly 1,860 miles long, which is 2,990 kilometers long, and is the darkest, largest feature on the dwarf planet. Cthulhu Macula is also pockmarked with craters, suggesting that it is billions of years old, much older than the craterless heart feature that we have already explored. The reason this bizarre region of Pluto is a deep red colour isn't fully understood, but it's likely a result of methane and nitrogen in Pluto's thin atmosphere interacting with the sun's ultraviolet light, creating organic particles known as tholins. Another gigantic feature is a spectacular canyon that stretches more than 1,000 miles or 1,600 kilometers across. But this deep geological scar isn't on Pluto. Instead, it is on the dwarf planet's mighty moon, Charon. At over half the diameter of Pluto, Charon is the largest natural satellite relative to its planet in the solar system. The gigantic chasm is at least 4 times longer than Arizona's Grand Canyon, and twice as deep in certain areas. It spans from one side of the giant moon to the other, and was likely caused by a violent geological event. However, what that event was, or how it occurred, is still a mystery. To the Romans, Pluto was the god of the underworld. To us, it is a complex, frozen object billions of miles away that has captured the imaginations and interests of millions. Many still consider Pluto the 9th planet and denounce the dwarf planet title that has been placed upon it. But regardless of its planetary status, Pluto is by far the solar system's bright pearl, a small but mighty world that boasts some of the greatest geological features ever discovered. Beyond the red planet Mars and past the mighty gas giants, a frozen world can be found, a world that has captured the hearts of millions ever since it was discovered more than 90 years ago. This is a short but true story about the extraordinary man that discovered the icy dwarf planet that we call Pluto. Born on February 4, 1906, Clyde Tombaugh was raised in Streator, Illinois. In 1922, at the age of 16, his family moved to a farm near Burdett, Kansas, with the hope of starting a bountiful life on a new plot of land. From a young age, it seems that Tombaugh had a keen interest in astronomy, something that was encouraged by his family, and it is reported that his interest really took hold after he peered through his uncle's telescope and closely observed parts of the cosmos for the first time. Unimpressed with store-purchased telescopes, however, at just 20 years old, Tombaugh taught himself how to build his own, from hand-ground mirrors and parts of farming equipment. Over the course of his life, Tombaugh impressively built more than 30 telescopes by himself, but it was in 1928 when he successfully made detailed observations of Mars and Jupiter that his path in astronomy really began to take shape. Tombaugh sent his surprisingly detailed drawings of Mars and Jupiter to the Lowell Observatory in Flagstaff, Arizona, hoping that the astronomers there would provide him with feedback. The drawings impressed the Lowell Observatory director so much, however, that he was offered a position as an amateur astronomer and groundskeeper instead, occasionally allowing Tombaugh to operate the observatory's new photographic telescope in search of, among other things, the mysterious planet X. Back in the 19th century, many years before Tombaugh had ever begun his search for Pluto, astronomers thought that Uranus was the outermost planet in the solar system. But they also believed that something was gravitationally disturbing Uranus's orbit, and so concluded that there must be an undiscovered eighth planet. In 1846, Neptune was mathematically predicted and then observed with telescopes, proving that there are still undiscovered objects in the outer solar system. Yet the mystery of Uranus's orbit wasn't solved, as further observations indicated that the ice giant was perhaps being influenced by yet another large object beyond Neptune, and so the hunt for the so-called Planet X began. When Tombaugh was hired back in 1929, he joined the search for the elusive Planet X by using the observatory's camera-equipped telescope that could capture 2 photographs of the same patch of sky on different days. Then, with the help of a device called a blink comparator, Tombaugh compared the photographs, allowing him to see if any noticeable changes in the star patterns had occurred. Stars and galaxies essentially remain in the same position in the images, but any bright objects that are closer, such as planets orbiting the Sun, could be visually identified by their motion across the sky. However, these unidentified objects are not easy to pick out, as each photograph would be covered with sometimes millions of dots of light, and so it took Tombaugh up to a week to examine every pair of exposures. Despite this repetitive challenge, eventually he did spot a change, because after 10 months of searching the night sky, a large, previously unidentified mass within our solar system moving in front of the distant stars was discovered beyond Neptune. These are the original photographic plates dated from January 23, 1930 and January 29, 1930 that reveal Clyde Tombaugh's discovery. An object that at the time was considered the solar system's 9th planet and the mysterious Planet X. Just like the other 8 planets in the solar system, the newly discovered Planet X required an official name, and so the staff at the observatory opened up a worldwide call for suggestions. The best came from 11-year-old Venetia Burney of Oxford, England, who thought that the icy planet should be named Pluto, after the Roman god of the underworld, a seemingly suitable name for the solar system's most distant planet. Unfortunately, not long after Pluto was discovered, astronomers realized that the newly found icy planet was too small to cause the irregularities seen in Uranus's orbit, and so the hunt for the elusive Planet X once again started. Pluto endured as our solar system's 9th planet for more than 70 years, before being controversially reclassified as a dwarf planet by the International Astronomical Union in 2006. A change in status that was caused by the discovery of other Pluto-sized objects within a region called the Kuiper Belt, the area that Pluto exists within. Clyde Tombaugh went from being a farmer's son to a promising amateur astronomer to then an internationally famous planet hunter. Before his death on January 17, 1997, he not only discovered Pluto, but was also credited with the discovery of many galactic clusters, hundreds of asteroids, and a comet, among many other things. But although Tombaugh's life had sadly come to an end, his journey was only really just beginning. Just 9 years after Tombaugh's passing, NASA launched the incredible interplanetary probe, New Horizons, a spacecraft that was designed to fly by Pluto and capture close-up images as well as other scientific data. New Horizons wasn't on its own, however, as fixed to the inside upper deck of the spacecraft is a small container holding part of Clyde Tombaugh's ashes, an amazing gesture that allowed him to travel to his planet. Printed on the container is an inscription that reads, "Interred herein are remains of American Clyde W. Tombaugh, discoverer of Pluto and the solar system's 3rd zone, Adele and Muron's boy, Patricia's husband, Annette and Alden's father, astronomer, teacher, punster and friend, Clyde W. Tombaugh, 1906 to 1997. New Horizons successfully passed Pluto and its moons in July 2015, becoming the first spacecraft ever to visit the distant dwarf planet. A heartwarming thought is that Clyde Tombaugh made that long journey, and that although he wasn't able to see the magnificent close-up images that were transmitted back to Earth at the time, a small part of him was instead able to visit Pluto, the dwarf planet that he discovered, and the dwarf planet that revealed its magnificent heart to humanity.
However, before we move on into the main part of the video, here are Business Insider's fun facts about Pluto. Enjoy. These are Pluto's 5 moons. Charon, its largest on the bottom there, and its other 4, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra, which are actually just asteroids that Pluto has captured throughout its history. All 5 of these moons orbit around this dwarf planet. How they became what they are, nobody knows. despite everything that we know about Pluto so far, as well as its home, the Kuiper Belt, one particular special spacecraft is on its, went out there and has answered all those questions for us so far, and is continuing to do that to this very day. And this is the spacecraft that's doing just that.
Seconds. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
On January 19, 2006, NASA's New Horizons launches and sets off on its 4.6 billion mile journey to the distant world Pluto. New Horizons would travel the furthest that any spacecraft has ever traveled. And New Horizons here is equipped with lots of modern technology and detector instruments, which will give us all the information that we need to know about our distant little friend, Pluto. And as you can see here, people were waiting for this moment. This would give us a great insight into our distant little friend that's 4.6 billion miles away from the sun. And New Horizons here would help us learn all about not just Pluto, but its home, the Kuiper Belt. And along with the mysterious object called Ultima Thule. But that is not the main topic of this video. Pluto would get its very first true visitor. And attached to the New Horizons probe is the partial remains of the man who discovered our little friend. And that man is Clyde Tombaugh, which after he died in 1997, his ashes, via his request, were attached to the New Horizons probe, and he is still out there to this day. But we are going to be joining New Horizons as it leaves the Earth's atmosphere and prepares to set off for our distant little friend, Pluto, and along with its 5 moons, Charon, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra, and its home, the Kuiper Belt. This is the incredibly well-made animation of New Horizons on its journey to the distant planet Pluto. It leaves the Earth and then travels past the gas giant Jupiter, and along with its Galilean moons, Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto, and as well as Jupiter's ring system, as you just saw there. New Horizons got a gravity assist from Jupiter, which our protector and bodyguard slingshot New Horizons off to Pluto. So this is another reason of why we rely on Jupiter, is to help our spacecraft get to where they need to go. And eventually, in July of 2017, New Horizons arrived at Pluto and gave us the very first ever look of the world that Clyde Tombaugh discovered back in 1934, and also gave us a great up-close look at its 5 moons, Charon, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra. This is incredible information that New Horizons has given us about this tiny little world that's 4.6 billion miles away from the sun. And what y'all are about to see next, right after this, is the incredible first ever pictures of Pluto that New Horizons gave us on its long 4.6 billion mile journey to the distant world that Clyde Tombaugh discovered and was the 9th planet in the solar system for over 80 years. So congratulations to New Horizons for helping us reach this milestone. Now without further ado, here are the pictures of Pluto that New Horizons has given us. So what y'all are looking at right now is the actual footage captured by New Horizons as it made its approach to Pluto. This is absolutely incredible footage, even though it's not really much. This is actual footage from New Horizons as it made its closest approach to Pluto. This is the very first time that our distant little friend has ever been visited by any spacecraft. So New Horizons became Pluto's very first visitor. And yes, that also includes Pluto's 5 moons: Charon, Styx, Nix, Kerberos, and Hydra. They too all became New Horizons' very first visitor. And attached to the spacecraft in the form of ashes, Clyde Tombaugh was very happy to have finally spiritually seen the world that he discovered all those years ago, back in 1934, when he was an amateur astronomer in Kansas. All of this is incredible pictures of Pluto that New Horizons captured for us during its visit to this tiny little world, this tiny little icy world in the Kuiper Belt, 4.6 billion miles away. New Horizons has given us the very first and best picture ever of Pluto. And if we could see Pluto with our own eyes, this is what we would be seeing. Absolutely amazing. If it weren't for New Horizons, we would not be able to have seen this strange little world if New Horizons hadn't been there and taken these amazing first ever pictures of the distant little world that is the undisputed king of the Kuiper Belt. So Pluto, thanks to New Horizons, we have finally gotten a great look at you, little buddy. We love you, Pluto, and no matter what, you are always a planet in the hearts of those that have seen you, thanks to New Horizons. We love you, Pluto. You will forever be a planet in our hearts for many, many years to come. And it's all thanks to New Horizons that we finally got to see you, little buddy. We love you, Pluto. And it is all thanks to New Horizons that we finally got to see this distant little world that's 4.6 billion miles away from the sun up close and personal. New Horizons even gave us a perfect look at Pluto's heart. So this tiny little world also has a heart. So this has been the incredible journey of New Horizons giving us a best ever first look at Pluto. And this has been the Valentine's Day special of Journey Through Space, featuring our distant little friend, Pluto. And now, let us listen to Pluto as it sings along with this music to show us that he loves us in return.